Hey everybody, this is Captain Frugal reporting for duty, giving you my weekly comic book review. So sit back and enjoy. Alright everybody, for those of you that know the drill, I go over a bunch of comic books for the week that I chose to read. Now I didn't have time to read everything, so if I missed something you think I should have read, let me know in the comments below. Also, you may disagree with me on some of my choices. If that's the case, that's alright. Let me know below. Let's just try to keep it civil. My goal is to bring back the old schoolyard days, where we would be discussing what hero could beat who or what comic book was good and not. And I come armed with my trusty notes, so you'll hear the paper rattle because I do it a little bit old school. I do my grading on a scale of 0 through 10, 7 being average as a 70%. So I'm using schoolyard grading. But that's not all. I also use the League of Comics Geeks to give you other people's views as well as a brief overview of the comic book as well. So let's jump right in. All right, thank you everybody again for joining, and for all those people that are new to the channel, thanks for signing up, and all of you that are not new to the channel, it's been a long time, thanks for sticking with me. As you know, there's going to be some changes, some new additions, in other words, some things old actually that are being brought back. Yeah, I think I'm going to start doing cover battle again, so I look forward to hearing your thoughts on that as we compare different comic book covers and pick which one would you buy off the shelf. First comic book we want to talk about today, though, is Daredevil, Woman Without Fear, issue number 1. 53 out of 53 liked it with a 4.2 average rating on League of Comics Geeks. A little higher than I gave it because I gave it a 7 out of 10. Yeah, it could be better, could be worse. Writer is Erica Schultz, artist is Michael Dowling. It says spinning out of Daredevil number 11. After the stunning events of Daredevil 11, Daredevil's allies are left more vulnerable. Can't speak. More vulnerable than ever. If they're able to survive, it will fall to Elektra and Matt Murdock to not only save their city as Daredevil, yeah, because they're both Daredevil, but also protect the people they love the most. Yeah, okay, well here's the thing, Marvel needs to quit trying to make a female or different gender or whatever you want to call it variable of every character. She was cool as Elektra, why not keep her that way? That's my thoughts on that, though. I mean, let's keep Daredevil as Matt Murdock. On top of that, Marvel needs to write Crossbones better than they did in this issue. They continue in other issues to not make Crossbones the threat that he should be. When Crossbones first came to Captain America, he was a major threat, and since then we've sort of seen him downplayed. I don't like how they write him as just not as big of a threat. Also, do we need the fake Punisher, the new Punisher, because Marvel doesn't have the balls to use the original Frank Castle anymore? It's sort of interesting, though, I will say, that we have the female Daredevil, the not Daredevil verse that possibly coming up, the not Punisher. So yeah, we have the second version of each one gonna meet up. They didn't really meet up this issue, but they're gonna meet up next issue. But we do see that new somewhat Punisher in this one. Yeah, you know how I feel about that. So this just proves, I think, though, that Marvel needs to get Frank Castle back. Quit with this fake stuff. So overall, not a bad issue. Good art. We could do worse. 7 out of 10. The next issue, we're going to fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there. A Real American Hero, issue number 308. 19 out of 20 liked it with a 4.5 average rating on League of Comics Geeks. I gave it a 7.5. G.I. Joe has been hit and miss, but I have to say, currently, writer Larry Hama of this issue has been doing a pretty good job with the series. A little bit different slant on it, and I'm enjoying that. Paul Pelletier, the penciler, I think also did a pretty good job. We have the war. Serpentor is taking on Cobra Commander. Yes, he's attacking Springfield, but there's a surprise. Cobra Commander is ready. I think that's good. I really enjoy this. We have Cobra Commander suited up for the fight. So if you like that old battle suit of Cobra Commander, you get to see it here too. Some of the Joes have also been captured in this issue, and they need to break free from Serpentor's clutches before Dr. Mindbender can work his evil plans. I think this book has good art, and I think this is a good G.I. Joe current storyline for G.I. Joe fans. If you're a G.I. Joe fan, check out issue 308. Next, let's take a peek into Nightwing issue 116, where 126 out of 147 liked it with a 3.9 average rating on League of Comics Geek compared to my 7.4 average rating, so not too far off here, which is surprising me because I'm not a big fan of Tom Taylor. He's the writer of this issue, and artist is Bruno Redondo. Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo's final Nightwing arc continues, and I'm sort of happy to see that. As I said, I'm not a big fan of Tom Taylor, but this could have been worse. Everything Dick Grayson has built is crumbling around him. Yes, Dick is falling down. Boy, insert laughter here. Yeah, a little late. Better late than never, people. Dick Grayson's life is spiraling out of control, and Heartless is at the center of it all. Now Nightwing must leave his city. Can he take back the power he's lost? Yes, he's going on a trip to find himself and get over his fear. So, anyway, meanwhile, Bloodhaven is searching for Dick. Yep, they're looking for Dick all over. But Dick is going to go and try to get help from none other than Deadman. In other words, they wrote in a little bit of a retcon that he received some help. I shouldn't say but he received help in the past from Deadman to get over his issues, and can he do it again? But I think one of the more cool things here, on top of it's actually a decent art and a decent story, better than I expected, but the big kicker here is Bruce Wayne becomes Nightwing, and I think that's a nice little spin, because we've had Nightwing being Batman, but now we're having Batman covering for Nightwing, and I think that's a nice twist, so I'm gonna give him props for that. If you're a Nightwing fan, I think you're gonna like this one. Hey guys, today's video is sponsored by my wallet. Yeah, I'm not trying to push any kind of wallet or pimp any wallet out. What I mean is it's sponsored by my personal wallet and the cash that comes out of it to pay for these things. If you want to help with this, you can hit like, subscribe, that notification bell. Those are great ways to get started. But if you find yourself in a position where you can help the channel more, we have a Patreon and a subscribe star down below that you can click on those links. And for as little as $1 a month, you'll have special videos and things just to you, music that you can get. Or maybe if you wanted to, a one-time donation just to help out, we have a Streamlabs link down below. Or we also have, if you go to the Patreon shop, you could buy a song for like $3. I wish I could put them a little lower, but that's the minimum they allow for that. So there's lots of options. Sometimes you might even see an Amazon link. If you want to buy anything through Amazon, click on my link first, then go through there. That'll give me a couple pennies, possibly that way too as well. So there's lots of ways you can help out the channel, because without you, it would not be possible. So thank you, everybody. And let's get back to the video. Next, we're going to jump back to Marvel in some darker territory with the Incredible Hulk issue number 14, where 74 out of 75 liked it with a 4.4 average rating from League of Comics Geeks, and I give this book a strong 7.3. The writer is Philip Kennedy Johnson, as well as Ryan North, and artist is Xavier Guerin. Once again, if I butcher these names, please bear with me. I'm known to do that. For some reason, I just can't talk. As Banner struggles to escape the terrifying mindscape in which Hulk keeps him prisoner, Charlie's soul is trapped inside a nightmare of her own, and she'll need both Hulk and Banner if there's any hope of escape. And so Banner's trying to get Hulk to work with him. This is a dark and interesting story. Yeah, I actually think the art style works for this too. I've been all over the place with my thoughts on the Hulk's current art style, but this one I think works. I think this is a good issue for fans of the mystical and dark kind of versions of Hulk. And on top of that, we get a Wolverine and Deadpool story starting here, which makes me scratch my head as why don't they just start it with a mini on its own? I think Daredevil and Wolverine should be popular enough to be able to attract enough attention to it without having to put it in other comic books, but I guess this is the way they want to market it. The next continuation of this Deadpool and Wolverine story will be in Captain America. I don't know why they're doing this. Let me know in the comments. Why do you think they're doing this? I think it's just for marketing purposes, but trying to get some additional appeal and crossover into this series, but I don't think they need it. The next issue I want to talk about, well, we're going out for blood with Blood Hunters number 4, where 42 out of 47 liked it with a 3.6 average rating on League of Comics Geeks, where I gave this, not near what they did, a 6.9. Yeah, so we have a big discrepancy in viewpoints on this. The writers Erica Schultz and Fabian Nicazzo, and Mary Sigavoni, which again, I butcher these names. And there's several artists too. Bernard Chang, Giada Belvizio, and Joe Carmagna. Oh, no, Joe is the letter. I know that. I know better than that. I should have read that. I should have read Patrick Zurcher. Patrick Zurcher is one of the artists. Sorry, Joe is not an artist. And this has been a series of short stories that all tie into the Blood Hunt series, and this one is the same. We get a Silver Surfer story, which I think is probably a one that more people would want to check out, if any, even though he's not a big seller either. Then we have a Santana story, which was okay. And then we have the more main story that's continuing throughout that with Dagger, Elsa Bloodstone, the White Widow. And that's probably the best story out of all of the group there. But really, this is nothing special. I would recommend only getting this if you are following the Blood Hunt and wanting to collect all of it. It really isn't anything great. The one thing they did do here too is they took the one that's been continuing, the group that I just mentioned with Dagger, Elsa Bloodstone, White Widow, that have been going through all these, and now they're getting a new #1 series called Blood Hunters. So the same name with a new #1. What? It just seems like it's silly. They probably should have given it a different name. I don't really think this is anything necessary, something you can skip. That's why I gave it a 6.9. Now let's jump back to the world of G.I. Joe with Destro #2. I thought this one would actually be doing better in the numbers probably, but based on the reviews it seems a little low. 70 out of 72 liked it with a 4.2 average rating on League of Comics Geeks, where I'm sorry, I thought it was a 7.9 book myself. Pretty close. I really did enjoy this issue. Writers Dan Waters, artist is Andrea Bresson. Sorry once again for the names. The world is changing and Destro means to come out on top. But with Cobra Commander breathing down his neck and the mercenaries Tomax and Zaymont seeking to dethrone him, to be the best top weapons manufacturer, there's going to be a war. And that's what we really get in this issue. We have Destro versus Tomax and Zaymont. Each side is out for control over the arms race. This is an interesting story. I'm digging this. And they're going to be continuing to fight each other and the thing is who's going to win. But at the end of this issue, there's a sniper waiting to take out Destro. Destro supposedly doesn't see it coming. Will it work out? I doubt it, because otherwise Destro would be over at issue #3. But it's an interesting story, and I think it's decent art. If you are a G.I. Joe fan, right now is some great time to be reading G.I. Joe, as well as Transformers. This whole connected world right now has been nothing but amazing. And you know what? As a segue, speaking of amazing, let's talk about the Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt issue #3, part 3 of a 3-issue mini-series. So this is the last one, the conclusion of that. 42 out of 54 liked it with a 3.3 average rating on League of Comics Geeks, and I gave it a 7.3. The writer is Justina Ireland, penciler Chris Campana. And anyway, Morbius is the one man close enough to cure for vampirism. But can he cure himself? Well, we get the conclusion of this one. We also get Misty Knight and Colleen Wing. So if you're fans of those characters, this is probably something pretty good, and I am. But even though with that said, this is a conclusion of this, but it's decent art, it's decent story. But as much as I want to like this, I can't say to get it unless you're deep into the Blood Hunt series and collecting all things. Otherwise, I just don't see it being that big of an importance here to get. Once again, not terrible. I gave it a 7.3, but really not necessary either. But that's my thoughts. Are you reading this, and what are your thoughts on it? Now, granted, compared to the other Spider-Man we're getting, this is probably pretty good. This is much better than the Amazing Spider-Man currently. And while we're at it, we might as well continue with more spiders. Let's talk about Spider-Woman #9. 21 out of 22 liked it with a 4 average rating on League of Comics Geeks, and I gave it a 7. So yeah, just mid-tier. I believe, and if I'm not wrong, I could be wrong, that Spider-Woman will probably be over at issue 10. I think issue 10 is going to be its end. And we have the writer is Steve Box and artist Ig Guara. And it's just, this whole thing seems like sort of a failed attempt at Spider-Woman. They could do so much more with this character. They did do some improvements. She's going back to the classic Spider-Woman outfit, which I think going to the other one was always a mistake. But I didn't like the direction they went with their son on this. But who knows? So anyway, Jess learns the truth about these new champions. Yeah, and you're going to see that there's a lot of problems there. But the shocking reveal keeps piling up with the return of someone that everybody thought was dead. The plot unfolds, and that's good. And I don't like this team, so I'm sort of glad with the spin that they went with it. I think it makes it more interesting. Decent art. It really is an okay issue. And as I said, the next issue will be the conclusion. It's probably also going to be the conclusion of the series completely. And I sort of, once again, this is a missed opportunity. Why can Marvel not seem to write a good Spider-Woman story. There's so much that you could use there with espionage and secret groups and all that, but they continue to drop the ball. I think they focus too much on feminism and things, whereas it really doesn't match. And I think they need to be a little bit more traditional comic book and stop trying to appeal to an audience that isn't there. Now let's talk about another book that's I'm a little disappointed to in this series overall as well, and that's Green Lantern War Journal issue number 11, where 37 out of 38 liked it with a 4.4 average rating on League of Comics Geeks, and I gave it a 7.1. Now I did say I'm disappointed. It's not because I think it's bad, it's just it could be a little bit better. Philip Kennedy Johnson's the writer and the artist is Montos. It says John Stewart has versed the old gods on Earth. Ellie Stewart's efforts to protect her mother are turned against her as she seemingly fantasy world is turned into a nightmare. Yes, she's getting attacked, but it does have a cool thing where she gets the power of the Green Lantern. So John Stewart's mom is getting a power up, and I think it's cool. This book really does have decent art, and this issue is better pacing than the last few issues have been, so I appreciate that. And the story is coming to a close with this story arc, and I think that's probably a good idea because it's a little too much going on, a little too messy. But I really do think the story on John Stewart's mom is actually the best part of this series, and you know, I don't mind seeing that explored with him and that relationship. I mean, how many books do we get where we focus on the father and the mother relationship, especially when there's issues there? Now, the next book I want to talk about by not talking about, yeah, that's what I said, is World's Finest issue number 29. The writer is Mark Waid. So with that said, I usually like to try to separate the writer from the work and give it a review. And to be honest, right now, at this time, I can't review this issue. I don't feel that I can give it an honest shake because Mark Waid is a complete dickbag, and he's once again proven it on social media. I'm fine with people having their own political views, even if they run counter to mine. But when you show how much of a scumbag you are and wish death on people just because they don't agree with you, you have problems. How can you have that kind of feeling and hatred towards people, but yet be writing somebody like Superman? It just doesn't make sense. So I, in all honesty, don't feel that I can review this book. I've been reviewing the series, and I think I've been able to keep that separate. But as of today, right now, with recent events, I don't think I can honestly review this book. I just can't do it. Mark Waid is a scumbag, and I refuse to review this issue. The next book I want to talk about is The Invincible Iron Man, where 68 out of 72 liked it with a 4.1 average rating. And I gave this book a strong 8 out of 10. Yeah. Writer Jerry Duggan, and artist is Andrea De Vito, and the war is finally over. This is sort of what's going on, the aftermath, since the Orcus War is over. And what does the future hold for Tony and Emma, which is quite sad, because I think this book has good art and has a good conclusion nonetheless, but it is sad to see that Tony and Emma Frost are not really sticking together. Or maybe not. Maybe in the long run they'll come back, because it seems like they both really actually do care for each other, but they still end up going away from each other, and they each do heartful things towards each other, which makes me think that maybe it's not over, even though it's temporarily over. And there's a lead in here to the new West Coast Avengers team. Yeah, hopefully it'll be better than that last debacle piece of crap mess that they had for West Coast Avengers. Hopefully this one will actually be good. And finally, let's close everything out with talking about Superman issue number 16. 157 out of 159 liked it with a 4.3 average rating on League of Comics Geeks, and I gave it a strong 7.6 as well. Writer Joshua Williamson, artist and colorist as well, Jamal Campbell, did a good job, in my opinion, on this issue. Yes, the Man of Steel. We get, him hurt after being shot. So we get Superman's down. Amanda Waller and her forces are winning the battle. Yep, the Fortress of Solitude has become the home base for the survivors. And we have an injured, hurt Superman, but yet he's still willing to go on dangerous missions. We have magic in this, which of course is not Superman's strong suit, but we have Zatanna as well. This is another absolute power tie-in with good art and a good story. We have Superman in that black suit, the one he wore after getting pounded by Doomsday and had to heal and everyone thought he was dead. We also have, you ready for this? Zatanna back into her classic outfit. Now, that might not mean much to some, but I think a lot of us that are older, we appreciate that, the characters wearing their classic outfit that we identify them with. This is another solid issue of the Man of Steel. Superman, the series Superman, has been doing very well, and I've been very happy reading it. And if you're a Superman fan and you haven't been checking it out, I strongly suggest that you do. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Well, with that said, everybody, thank you for sticking through here with me. As I said, I give it my best attempt to review books without a bias there. DC made it a little harder this month than usual, and with one person in particular, not denouncing that issues that are there. I'm trying to stay out of that realm and just stick to the comics, which can be a tough thing to do. What did you read? What did you like? What should I have read? And how do you disagree? Let me know in the chat. Let's have a fun discussion. And thank you everybody for joining and helping with this channel. This channel has been on the upward trend. It's been growing. Our videos have been doing well. Thank you. I think that's all because of you and your sharing and commenting. And those things really do help the channel grow. You've all been amazing, and thank these people too, because these people, without them, this channel would not be possible. They've helped support this channel for a long time, and I'm really, really grateful for that. And until next time, keep it frugal.